Hi, welcome to my channel, Retirement After Heart Transplant. My name is Alan. Today I want to talk a little bit about how your transplant team would be looking at your support system, your lifestyle choices, things like that. Primarily before transplant, but also, while you're on a waiting list and that sort of thing. The first thing that's going to happen is they're going to do numerous medical tests to ensure that you are physically capable of receiving the new heart transplant and being successful after heart transplant. There are quite a few things that can affect that. So lots of blood tests, various kinds of tests that they're going to do to make sure that you're able to get a new heart and successfully live with the heart. That's part of it. It's not the whole thing. Another issue is lifestyle choices. Just two examples. If you're a smoker, you're not going to get a heart. It's just not going to happen. So I was a smoker as a young man, probably for 25 years. Had tried to quit for quite a few years before I finally quit. And what finally did cause me to quit was having a heart attack at age 37 in 1992. That was kind of the shot across the bow that got my attention enough to make me quit. So I wasn't a smoker, and that was not an issue for me. Another issue they look at is alcohol consumption and the level of alcohol consumption. Depending upon your cardiologist and your transplant team, you may get different views about this. Some will say zero alcohol, end of story. Other teams I've learned since having my transplant will not necessarily say that. They're fine with moderate or light alcohol use. But going in, I know at least in my case and with my team, it was zero alcohol, and you were tested for that. So wasn't a big issue for me anyway, at all. A third thing they're going to look at is your mental and emotional health. It may seem that that's not a big deal, but it really is, because after having gone through declining health, heart failure, you can potentially be pretty down and out, pretty depressed, a lot of anxiety. And I certainly experienced a good deal of that over the years that I was heading toward heart transplant. But overall, I tend to be a positive person and a sort of an optimistic person. So I think I fared fairly well with that. The other part of that is they're going to look at your support system. First of all, family and friends, or caregivers, whoever they may be. In my case, I'm married. My wife and I have been together for quite a long time, 48 years, and this year, and we have a great relationship. She takes good care of me, always has. My daughters, we're very close to both of our daughters. They're grown, got families of their own. I think back at that time, they were grown but didn't have families of their own yet. Now, one of them did, actually. One of them did have family of their own. And they don't want to just hear from you. The transplant team doesn't want to just hear from you that you have a good support system. They want to meet your caregivers or the people that will be helping to look after you after transplant. And in my case, actually, my wife reminded me today as I was thinking about this video, they met not only her along with me, but they met my daughters. So she and my daughters both met whoever we met on the transplant team. There are several people involved in the evaluation. So that's a very important thing. After transplant, if you can't keep your mental health up, take good care of yourself in that respect, that can affect your physical health as well. And if that's not looking good, they're probably not going to approve you for a transplant. At any rate, obviously I got approved for a transplant after going through, jumping through those hoops and going over those hurdles. I almost neglected to mention there's one last thing they do look at, and that's the ability to pay for the transplant. What's your health insurance look like? If you have health insurance, obviously they're going to check with the company and make sure it's covered. Fortunately, I had excellent health insurance, and that was not an issue. That was no problem. It is an issue with some people. Some people actually are not able to get a heart transplant because they have no way to pay for it. There are programs available to help people, in this situation that are going to be either part of your transplant team or the hospital that you're at, or maybe there's some other program. But there are times that people just can't find a way to pay for it, and they get turned down. They never get put on the heart transplant list. It's a shame, that life comes down to money sometimes, and it's terrible. I hate it. Most all of us hate it, but that's the way it is, and that is one of the things they look at. Anyway, obviously, I got on the transplant list. Was supposed to be there 3 to 6 months. Ended up being there 18 months, and during that time you're on the transplant list, they're going to continue. Your heart transplant team is going to continue to keep an eye on you, so to speak. Make sure you're kind of holding things together and keeping your end of the bargains you've made with them, the smoking, the drinking, all the rest of it. In our case, kind of moving forward, while I was on the transplant list, there's a great support team at the hospital that I was getting transplanted at. And we became a part of that, my wife and I, while I was on the waiting list. We didn't wait until after transplant. It's a good thing because it was 18 whole months. And the group that was at our hospital is called the New Hearts. All I can tell you is it was fabulous for my wife and I both. We had an opportunity. It was a very active group, anywhere from 15 to 20 or 30 people attending the meetings. They met monthly. They also had other kinds of get-togethers, picnics in the summer, Christmas get-together in the winter. We had an opportunity to see what life on the other side might look like, because it's kind of scary going into this, and you really don't know what to expect. But seeing people who look and act normal, as people say I do, and I kind of do, I guess, was really encouraging. And that's mostly what we saw. As I pointed out in other videos, it's not the only thing we saw, because some people don't do well after transplant, and they have issues, and so there were some problems. But overall, from an emotional and encouragement standpoint, being a part of that group was just awesome. I think it probably helped to carry us through as much as anything else during that long waiting period. Had a couple of good friends that helped me. One particular friend was a neighbor in the neighborhood we lived right across the street. We had been friends for years. Rode motorcycles together. His sons lived nearby in the neighborhood. We all rode bikes together. They're all pilots and sailors and that sort of thing. In fact, the one good friend right across the street was a sailor and a pilot all his life. He taught me to sail, and not while I was on the transplant list. I wasn't able to handle that, but this guy was such a blessing to me. We weren't that close before the transplant. We knew each other well. We connected on a lot of levels. But when I got on the transplant list, he stepped in like he was a father. And by the way, he was older than me. He's about 18 years older than me. He's a Korean vet, one that fought in Korea, so he's up there a ways. And even back then, of course, he was up there a ways. That never changes. So he became kind of a mentor, a caretaker. He helped me with things around the house that I was unable to handle. And that time really cemented our relationship in a way that now he's one of my best friends in the world. And I'm probably still one of his best friends in the world. I've moved away and we're not living across the street anymore. We're an hour and a half apart, but we stay in touch. We get together often. One of our favorite things to do is go see a good movie and get breakfast together or whatever. Anyway, the point being, this gentleman, particularly being right across the street, was such a blessing to me, and continues to be today. Good man, good guy. So between the New Heart support group, especially that, and friends like Joe, my buddy, I wasn't going to say his name, but I've already said it. These things helped me a lot on my journey while I was on the waiting list, and they're very important. The other thing about your transplant team, whether you're on the waiting list, whether you're after transplant, whenever, your team is going to give you great advice about everything. You know, if you're in a situation where you're, you know, you've had a transplant, you're waiting on a transplant, um, I encourage you really plug in and stay plugged into your team. They care about you. They're going to be very helpful. They're going to give you advice on anything you can imagine to help you out, whether it's, you know, having to do with medications, mental health, you name it. And they continue to be to this day. I don't see them or contact them as much today because I'm 13 years out almost, and honestly, you just don't see them as often. Still see them fairly regularly, but not nearly as often as very early in. So at any rate, um, that's really all I wanted to talk about today was the whole idea of you know, your support system and the evaluation prior to transplant, just as information. And I appreciate you stopping by my channel, and hope you like this video and subscribe. And until next time, goodbye.